Welcome back, everyone, to another amazing edition of Water Polo Wednesday. This episode is really special. Not only are we wrapping up the National League Finals, congrats to Mission for taking home yet another trophy that UCLA team seems to only know how to win, but we also recap the conference champions and the NC2A format or bracket structure for the NC2A Women's Championship coming up here in a couple of weeks. And finally, we talk about a story of trial and tribulation that turns into triumph as the McKendree head coach, Alex Figuera, and captain, Sydney Kane, join us to talk about the tragedy that occurred at the start of their season and how they finished on top. All that, a ton more. Thank you so much for joining us. It's another great episode of Water Polo Wednesday.
And welcome back, all y'all, to Water Polo Wednesday with Wes and Clay. You're Wes.
You're Clay.
And we are here to wrap up a lot of excitement in the water polo community. We are on the other side of National League Finals and Women's Season Conference play. Lots to talk about, Wes. We can start with the Men's National League Finals side. What an exciting weekend. It was in a lot of ways what we'd hope it would be, would you say?
I think it was. I mean, look, the opportunity there to see Danish and Philip play together, some of the passing, I think the highlights been rolling around Instagram. Incredible. Mount Sac. I'd never been to Mount Sac, so the venue was fantastic.
Nice.
And I got a great shot of the teams lining up with the stands up behind them and the pool in front of them, and it's really cool. It was a very special venue. I loved the venue. I thought that was really amazing.
Yeah. So we had a play-in round on Friday leading into quarterfinals on Saturday morning. So teams playing for, but we had, whether you won or lost your games, everyone got to finish everything out. So we had games playing for 11th place all the way up to the championship, obviously. Any big surprises of how these finals ended up in terms of final rankings?
I mean, no real big surprises for me. Honestly, they went chalk. Mission 1, O Club 2, LA 3, and then all the way down. Nyack 4th, I think. For me, I think what was really impressive was the UCLA versus Channel Cats game. I was fortunate enough to be on the call for that. I know Channel Cats supported that, so thank you guys. But it was 4-3 at half. And I knew that they had a chance before the game. I knew that the game would be close. Dude, if you told me 4-3 at half, I would have been like, okay, this is going to be an amazing second half. But what ended up happening was a lot of attrition, a lot of 5-on-6 defense, and a lot of exclusions against Channel Cats. Which, look, when you spend so much energy on defense playing 5-on-6, it's hard to have that energy late in the game to play 6-on-6 offense or counter or whatever it is. Brendan Jopyash got goalie of the tournament.
Totally surprised there.
The dude is...
Congrats, Brendan.
Yeah, the dude is special. And I thought that Channel Cats game versus Mission was very, very good till the very end. And was really impressed there. I think the junior team was quite good. That USA Pipeline team was quite good. They work really hard. Ryan Ohl took home top scorer, I think, behind Ryder. I don't know if Ryder
was MVP, yeah. But Ryan Ohl was top scorer of the tournament.
He had 5 against us in LA. Did a great job there. Ryan is likely headed to U20 World Championships this summer in Croatia. Potentially the senior team call up for in Singapore. Good for him. Congratulations, man. That's amazing for a freshman in college. Like that's pretty special. On par with Ryder. Not many freshmen will get to do that, but there'll be a few guys, I think, as part of that program, part of that team. And so it was great to see. Landon Ackerstrom had a great tournament. Obviously, he's done quite well for that. He's the most threatening guy, I think, on that junior team that played this weekend. Obviously, Ryder would be if he were there. The lefties on that team were good. Kiefer and Alex Oprea were really good. Maddox Arlett defending you saw the best centers in the country have trouble with Maddox Harlett. Like that's
Yeah,
how good he is, and he's an 18-year-old. He's a freshman in college. So I was really really impressed with their level of play. Obviously, Coker I think is the best coach in the country. I don't think, and I don't think it's close, to be honest with you. I think Coker is like far and away the best coach in the country. Very disciplined. His teams always play well together. They're very coordinated and
very
whatever else.
disciplined.
Very disciplined team. So it was that to me was really the highlight, is to see the future.
Yeah.
And we had the opportunity to play against them, obviously, in our first game.
It wasn't the same. The Pipeline team has been a very interesting squad for this season
Right.
because of the novelty of this format, including college teams. So you had a lot of guys kind of dipping in and out of that Pipeline
Yeah.
squad. So some weekends they had the Ryder Dodds and the UCLA guys, and some weekends they didn't. This was one of those that they didn't. So like that Pipeline team with the UCLA guys, that's a very, very formidable team. And like you said, I think our future is very promising there.
Yeah, so it's going to be very exciting to watch those players at Junior Worlds, the U20s in Croatia this summer, June 14th to the 21st. Um, I think that they've got I believe they've got a chance to win the whole thing, which would be, I don't know if we've ever won Junior Worlds. I'd have to look. Not in recent memory, at least.
Yeah,
We've been in the finals, but I don't remember us winning. So that was really cool. The Channel Cats shootout game versus Anteater Friday night was electric. Great job by Armand and La Cunada. I thought the environment there was incredible. Clay, you did
live
all the
band
streaming.
Yeah,
You did the streaming for that.
we missed
cool.
overnight on our Friday night games, and so Eric Carnahan and I hopped over to La Cañada High School and hopped on a live stream with the National League Instagram account. So people seem to appreciate that.
Yeah. The one thing I would call out from a fan perspective is, I understand, like, not everybody loves to watch water polo. I don't really love to watch basketball, right? But there's a certain experience of witnessing greatness with Danish and Philip, Casabea, Ryder. There's some pretty special players. And I think, we want to encourage everybody, if you really, truly care about this sport, we know we do, right? Everybody knows we do. We do this because we love it. But if you care about this sport, it's more than just bringing yourself out there. Introduce other people to the excitement of this game. Danish had a great interview where he talked about how he didn't miss the training and he didn't miss like the buildup. But when he started playing again, he enjoyed it. It's really interesting, that relationship with this sport, that it is a beautiful, beautiful game and just an incredible sport where, we are pushed to the limit physically to be able to play this game. And even in great shape, guys are coming out exhausted, and I think that it's the last bastion of kind of like, brute competition is water polo, right? We don't wear pads. It's physical. Guys are swimming, which is obviously difficult, on their legs. Like, some of the stuff these guys are able to do is really, really special. And I felt very fortunate to be able to watch that this past weekend. Just watching Philip and Danish was amazing, but also watching, some of the younger kids and Mission won, which was great. Like they went undefeated all season. I'll tell you what, that team only knows winning. Like,
Seriously.
Right? Let's recap Ryder and Chase Dodd Ryder, at least in the last 12, 18 months. Okay. CF championship, I think. And then they won a bronze. And then he won an NC2A championship. And now they've won National League. I'm like, ooh.
Wow.
So
what do they call it in golf where like you win
the Grand Slam?
The Grand Slam?
Tennis. Maybe it's tennis.
Is it?
I think it's the same.
There's something for golf. There's something for tennis. I think now there should be something for water polo where like, I don't know who else has made this kind of sweep, or even if these opportunities existed, right? Where you win your CIF championship, you medal at the Olympics, and you win an NC2A championship, and you win the National League championship, which has developed into like a true, like National League over the past few years. Like, it's something that was competitive for sure. And I still think that the past few years, people have looked at Fisher Cup or Senior Nationals, less so years before. It was like Fisher Cup was like the staple tournament. Like this is like
Yeah.
where all the dogs are out to play, the best of the best are out here, all the colleges. And then now it's Fisher Cup is essentially senior nationals, as we know. But now with the extension of the league and the inclusion of the college teams, it's like an extended Fisher Cup essentially. So
Yeah.
like National League has become the de facto, like this is what people are really excited to play for.
Yeah. And I think that, look, as we look to the future, I don't know what next year looks like. I if we're going to move to a professional league, which I have been hard at work in trying to like theorize and plan and map and create. I think I'm up to 20 pages in terms of my thesis on how we're going to build a league. It has to be different than this. Okay. And it can't be the same as National League. This is good, but we can be better.
Yeah.
And so there's quite a bit that goes into this and understanding where we go from here, because I believe we are, one, I think we're just scratching the surface. And I think two, we are getting passed by other sports. You've got flag football, you've got women's baseball, you've got lacrosse, you've got volleyball, men's and women's. I can't think of a sport that doesn't have a professional league at this point. I think pickleball has a professional league, right? Like somebody in the airport going home saw our third place trophy and was like, "Oh, what sport do you play?" It always conversation starter. Talking about water polo. Like, "Oh, I play."
It's always a conversation starter when I carry a massive trophy with me through an airport.
It's a regular thing for me. But I say, we're talking about water polo. He's like, "Have you ever heard of like underwater torpedo?" And I'm like, "No." Like, well, it's a lot like water polo.
That was his response.
Yeah, and I kind of laughed. I said,
"Oh yeah, have you heard of
Yeah. I'm like, and my first comment arrogantly was like, "Can you hit people?" And he goes, "No." And I go, "Then it's not like water polo."
Yeah.
But he said they have a professional underwater torpedo league to the point. And I'm like, these guys get paid to play underwater torpedo?
And he said,
I'm
yeah.
like, so
yeah.
Look, we if we're going to do this, and ideally we do it the right way the first time, which is why I'm at 20 pages. I'm probably going to end at probably 60 pages of how to build. Like, there's a lot of nuance to this. And every time I make one decision, it leads to other things. There's these domino effects of when the season starts. Who do you include? Where do you put teams? It's a lot. We're looking at probably 30 million a year, 35 million a year. Because, Clay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm not going to shoestring it. I'm not going to be like, let's do it as cheap as possible. We need to create fan bases. We need to create pro teams, like true pro teams where every player is getting paid a wage that they can go live somewhere else and be okay with that. To create popularity, to create fandom, to create an experience. And then at the end of the day, if we were to host a league, like, right, if you and I were to sit down and host a league, truly run a league, it needs to be our goal. Like, the teams will provide that product. Our goal needs to be to make missing the championship or these games a bad choice, meaning you got to come out. There needs to be everything under the sun you can think of. A lot of great ideas floating around about how we can continue to build. And that's kind of the vision, right? Like, let's go out, let's make something great. Similar to kind of, the rise in LA Athletic Club. And I think Channel Cats has done a really nice job with their marketing and media, and their play is very good. Like, those teams continue to build. We need more of that, but I think it needs to be in a different format. I think we need to get players getting paid to play. I really, truly do. And I think that will draw a lot of attention to that point. Dusan Mandich reached out to Philip and myself while Philip was here, because he stayed with me all week and was like, I'd be really interested in doing what you're doing. And so there is interest in this, but it needs to be in a format that's not like one weekend or, whatever it is. There are a lot of nuances we need to kind of like clean up. But at the end of the day, right, great end of year tournament. Congrats again to Mission, Olympic Club, LA Athletic Club, finishing 1, 2, and 3 respectively. The competition level was very high. I thought the games were very competitive. They were all pretty close. Championship went into a shootout. I know our game against Olympic Club was not close and then extremely close. And then our third place match against Nyack was a good game. So we wrapped that up, and then now senior nationals in 16 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Quick
Just
turnaround. It's like,
weird,
oh boy,
weird. Again, this is
what a
part of what we kind of clean up. Like, I don't know why, but it is what it is.
yeah,
And
it's kind of like an extended championship weekend.
but is
Like
it though? Because the
what is
teams are going
senior
to be totally
nationals as it
different.
relates to national
Right,
league, right? And I think that's what you just said it. Like the big difference here is just the time of year and who's available to play.
right. So where you had Loyola, LMU, and CBU in National League, and Anteater, which was UCI, and Long Beach, which was Long Beach, even Trojan and Emission, none of those teams will be playing in senior nationals or formerly Fisher Cup. So it's a little confusing. We need more continuity, in my opinion.
Hmm.
We need more continuity throughout the season. And that's why you ask the questions. Do you include colleges? Do you include the college players? Should players be playing for their collegiate club? Like theoretically, people should be able to play wherever they want, but like, how do you structure that? There's a lot of questions that need to get answered. And it's an exciting time, man. It's good to see the excitement. I know the ratings were pretty darn good on overnight, so that was kind of cool. Um, Mark Kuzno did a great job on the mic.
Oh, love hearing Kuz
Yeah,
does a very good job with the mic.
Kuz does a
Yeah.
great job on the mic. There was a trainer there. I know the food was available, and now it's like, hey, better, never best. How do we continue to make things better? And so that's what I'm looking forward to, man.
Yeah.
I'm a little sad National League is done, right? What about you? It's an exciting year.
Yeah, there was a lot of I mean, I wouldn't say it had the same level of like drama as the NC2A men's season did,
No.
but there were certainly games where anybody could beat anybody. And same thing
Yeah.
going into this finals weekend. We just didn't know what was going to happen or how things were going to
Yeah.
shake out. I think overall, like we talk about experience and product are the two words that come to mind
Yeah.
for the league. And uh, for the most part, what stands out to me is like the teams are certainly the product of National League. Like we're bringing the level of play, the highest level of play. Like that's the product offering
Right.
that people are coming to experience. But I think of like where does the fan base really come alive? Where are
Yeah.
examples of that? Of course, on the European scene, you go to YouTube, you go to a big match of Partizan versus Crvena Zvezda, and then the fans are just lit up, massive flags, all the different types of horns out there, drum sections, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, chants that are doing, flares going off in the stands. Very unsafe, but boy, is it fun. And so these teams don't just go for like to watch good water polo. They watch because they've had like families roll through these
Mm-hmm.
clubs. They've had just like a generational attachment to these teams, and the club is an extension of the city itself. It's not like an isolated like collegiate club, right? But also they go for that experience of the fans getting hyped up. Like you go into a big, stadium for any other sport, and you feel the electricity in the air just because of how many people are there, and they're all excited to see the
Yeah.
game and just to enjoy that mutual experience. So how are we augmenting like the fanship portion of the games and making like that another like in like film, right? The city of where a film takes place is sometimes acts as a character in and of itself in a film.
Yeah.
So how do we treat the actual fan experience as a player, as a major component of the overall experience, not just we have games that are scheduled, teams hop in the pool, player announcements, and they play a game, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Like, what else is going on around it? Food trucks are good. Some music is good. I think that is certainly an area where people can get excited to go to the deck because it's just fun to be there, not just
Yeah.
to watch, but to be.
Yeah. I remember when I was working for the World Cup in Germany in 2005 and 2006, and there were friends of mine who were Germans that they didn't care if they saw Germany or not. They just wanted to go to a game.
Right.
And so I had the luxury of having tickets to every single game because I was working for FIFA. And so when a friend of mine would reach out like, hey, do you have any tickets? I said, I have Ghana playing Sweden. Are you good with that? They're like, absolutely. We just want to be part of that environment. And I remember sitting there and I was watching the Italy-Germany semifinal that went into overtime. And the way that this stadium, like the noise of the crowd would rise was like, it would shake your body. Now, did I care who won? Yeah, I was like an Italy fan. I'm still an Italy fan. But at the same time, there weren't as many Italians there as there were Germans there, right? Because it was in Germany.
Yeah.
And it was such an environment, such an experience.
Yeah.
It's the biggest event in the world is the FIFA World Cup.
It's the biggest sport in the world. They're representing countries, like not a fair comparison, but at the same time, like that's the idea.
Amazing experience. So how do we provide that? And that to me is the missing piece right now. Because if it's just about watching the sport, I'll stay home. Like Overnight does a fabulous job. I'll stream it. The streaming's too
What do I get from showing up on deck?
Right.
I don't know.
So that to me, I think, and look, I think everybody's going to have suggestions on this. I know Mark St. John does a nice job of this with his Quicksilver. A couple of people mentioned that to me over the weekend. The Quicksilver Cup that he does. They do player intros, smoke machines, bubble like walkouts, tunnels, and whatever else. So I think that's the next piece. Like the teams will continue to provide a good product. Nyack brings a lot of those Princeton and some of the Fordham guys out, do a nice job there. Obviously, Olympic Club is up here in San Francisco. Channel Cats has done a nice job fielding players. You've got these different clubs. I know Sunset had a lot of San Diego alum. That was great. Riptide's down in Huntington Beach. That's awesome. So the product is there. But again, Denis Varga and Filip Filipovic were there. So that tells you that, okay, people really do want to see the star power, but they also want the experience. They want the experience of like a great environment. And one guy had like a horn, and every time
there was a single
Hungarian
guy.
So whoever that was, right on. Love that. We heard that during announcements. It was amazing. But all in all, fabulous National League season. Big shout out to Tom Davis, the commissioner. He did a really nice job with it, keeping things organized. It's a lot to manage.
And for handling the first season ever that included these college teams, like the amount of extra communication that he had to do to make all this work, substantial. Yeah. So hats off to him for sure.
Yeah. Now, another unique thing about the season was that there were a lot of players. I guess it wasn't unique to this season, but this year more than ever, because LA Athletic Club has had youth players on our team since the very beginning. It's one of our core pillars of providing opportunities for youth players. But more teams had youth players this year. And so we were fortunate enough to catch up with some of those youth players who had the chance to play in National League just to talk about their experience. And so we'll be right back right after this with their interview on Water Polo Wednesday. Welcome back, everyone. We have 4 amazing guests here, 4 standouts from the U.S. National League here. Oliver Marson with the Los Angeles Athletic Club, Jack Pointner with Channel Islands, Connor Coleman played for Mission this year, and Gavin Conant, a standout for Trojan. Thank you guys for being here. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see all you guys. We've had the luxury, the pleasure of watching you guys dominate some of these collegiate teams. You've all been standouts this year in the league. Oliver, I want to start with you. You're a junior in high school. How has this experience kind of shaped you and your game? And what do you think you're going to be bringing back to your club teams and your high school team as you return as just a junior?
Yeah, I think it helps in 2 ways. Number one, the obvious one, you're playing against collegiate and professional level players. The game is faster, everyone is stronger, people move quicker, and so that forces you to be the same. And so just in your own play style, playing against players of that caliber, I think that my level of play has greatly improved playing in this league. I would also say that being on a team with those same level of players and getting to talk to them, running our schemes, and even just the little things like how they move in the water, picking up little tips from them. Like, I'll give an example. Like, we had a practice this Saturday, and just watching Max Casabay on 5-man, the way he comes over his legs, the way he's able to block, like little things like that, where you're just picking up these little skills from your own teammates too. And I think that I'm able to bring those back to my team as well.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I love to hear that. Jack pointing her out. You're with Channel Islands. You were a standout for Channel Islands all season. You gave us at LA Athletic Club some problems. Talk to us about what that was like for you. How is it different than playing high school or futures or anything else?
For me personally, it's all about experience. Like experiencing new things, especially the speed. It's a huge thing. Everyone's bigger than me. Everyone's like more or less stronger than me. So like just it's more conceptual, like I have to think harder. I have to be faster. I have to react quicker. So that's kind of it for me.
Yeah.
That reaction's so key, like the game speed. I don't think we realize it a lot of the time, but that it kind of hits you in the face where the game speed is quicker. You got to be more further ahead of it all, right? Like to be able to adjust.
Yeah,
and adapt.
100%.
So that's cool.
Yeah. Where you're at right now, like in your high schools, you're excelling because you're able to anticipate probably a lot more than everybody else.
Yeah.
You go up a couple levels, all of a sudden you're having to react a lot more. But then as you bring that back to your current level, you're just that much further ahead than everybody else. This one is for, yes, 100%. This is for Connor Coleman at Mission. You've had the chance to play for what is the top team in National League this year. What are some of the things that you've learned playing alongside some of these Bruins?
These guys are the best team in the National League, and, they won NC2A, so they're the best team in college. And getting to play with a couple Olympians, you just pick up things not even in the game, just outside the game, the way they hold themselves, the way they carry themselves, the second they walk on deck, they're ready to take care of business. And I think learning little things like that outside the pool, like how they begin their warm up, what they're doing before the game, I think it really helps a lot, to be able to bring it back to high school and have that level of maturity and that level of leadership. I think it's super big to be able to bring such high level back down to high school and club. So
yeah, could you get a little bit more granular, like as an example, like a little more detail on like one element that you are now going to bring with you back to your program?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think just, the level of focus during warm up is super big. During high school season, it's a lot different, a bunch of teenage kids, everyone's kind of joke around a little bit, but these guys, when they jump in the second they start their warm up, they're not goofing around. They're just straight to business. So I think that's, gets them ready in the right mindset. And they're all it's all a huge mental thing for them before the game. So that's another big thing for them. But
love that.
That's interesting. Gavin, you were on Trojan. You made some pretty incredible shots this year, which was including some key penalty shots, actually, as you guys did quite well. Finished third in the North Conference. Being able to shoot like that as a high school kid, we say kid fairly generously. You're technically an adult, right? But to come in and have that kind of resolve is what we call kind of having steel in your spine, right? Nothing kind of breaks you. Talk to us about that. Like what goes through your head or maybe doesn't when shooting a 5 meter at this level? Is it different than shooting it in high school?
A little bit. The goalies are, the best goalies out there. I was shooting against, for example, Wes Temkin, who's probably the best goalie in college, one of the best goalies in college right now. So it's definitely a little challenging going up and thinking like, oh, these are the best guys to shoot against. But then again, you can't think like that because when you're taking penalties, confidence is everything. And so when you go up, you kind of just have to tell yourself like, I'm going to make this. Otherwise, you get in your head and you might bar out, you might miss, you might go wide of the cage. So whenever I take penalties, I always tell myself like, oh, this is going in. Like, this is a no-brainer. So that always helps me kind of stay calm, stay flush. Yeah.
Love that. Awesome. Back to Jack. Has playing in this league shaped how you view some of the other teams who are recruiting you? You're surrounded by a lot of collegiate programs. Have you kind of gotten a sense of the vibe or the culture of these different programs? Has this kind of exposed you to some of them and maybe even attracted you to some of them? You don't have to say explicitly like, yeah. This one's, but
it honestly, it's just about like the more I play, the more fun it is for me in a way. I love like trying to chase the next best guy, and especially in college, like you come in as the bottom guy. So being able to chase like those top guys, those seniors, those fifth years, like that makes it more fun for me.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oliver, you're a junior in high school as well. Is this something like you would want to do again next year? Is this something that you've always wanted to do? Have you thought about this before, or is this like it came out of nowhere and kind of cool experience? But talk to us about that overall.
Yeah, I mean, answering the first part of your question, I'd obviously love to do this again, and like anytime I can. I think that this league consists of the best American players you can find, and I think that playing with the best makes you become better. That's the best way to get better. So obviously, any opportunity I have to participate in this league, I'm going to take it. With regards to like how I've thought about National League in the past, I mean, I got the opportunity to play last year with the youth team, but that was really my first exposure to National League. I didn't have a huge idea of what it was or anything like that before that. But then after being invited to play with the youth team last year and then getting that experience, like I got a good grasp for what it is. Like I said, a league with the best American players you can find. And I have a real appreciation for that. I'm honored to have been able to participate last year and this year. And anytime I get the chance to do it again, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, and you're headed to Pacific Cup, so little exposure never hurt you having that opportunity, which is awesome. And congratulations on that, Gavin. You're playing with the team. You've committed to the Trojans, as your sweatshirt would allude there with the whatever. He's all right.
Not just the colors.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that you've kind of started the process early? We've heard about people graduating and going in the spring. I know Lauren Steele over at UCLA finished high school, won a CIF championship, then went to UCLA and started in the spring. It's kind of a little bit like dipping your toe in the water. What have you learned maybe about your future teammates that you didn't know before, now that you're playing with them? Because it's a very unique opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've gotten to know the guys really well. They're all super cool. That's one of the main reasons why I picked USC in the first place, was because of the guys, because of the culture.
Sure.
And it's been really cool to, dive right in. Like, I'm with the team right now. I'm playing with them. So it's been great. It's been a great experience, learning little things from like Robert, for example, on my form, on my shooting, like Stefan on defense. There's so many guys on this team that I'm learning from. And, there's no downside to it at all. Like, I'm just coming in, new guy. I'm not even in college yet. And I'm already learning things from the team. And so it's just great to be a part of this. And I'm really thankful. So
love the growth mindset there, Gavin. That's awesome. Connor, you play for Ormsby at JSerra, right? Ormsby on the show this last week, which is awesome. I've known Brett a long time. You got to, or you had to play for him again at Mission. Was it different playing for him when he's coaching Mission versus when he's coaching JSerra?
No, not at all. I think he likes to hold those UCLA guys to the same standards he holds us at Mission and JSerra. So there's really no change in tempo going from National League to high school or high school to National League. Everyone has the same goal. So same speed, same standards, not much of a change between the two. So.
Okay.
Yeah, he has to make sure that the Mission guys are as disciplined as they are at JSerra.
Yeah. Well, I think he's probably making sure everybody at Mission on that team is
kind of a joke, but yes.
No, impressed. Oh, yeah. All right. Sorry. He says these jokes, guys. I don't always understand him when he's saying. So we like to open it up now. Again, thank you guys so much for being here and making this opportunity available. We love that you're here. You're always welcome back. We open up the floor here. Is there anything you guys would like to share? Any questions that you have? We like to say the studio is yours, and to go ahead and open it up. Oliver, we'll start with you, and we'll work our way around.
Yeah, sure. Let me think about that. I guess for Wes, I mean, like, I've played for you and Clay and Eric with LA Athletic Club. I mean, it's been an absolute honor. I mean, playing with this roster, it's like a group of guys. Like, we have guys from, Cal, Stanford, all over the place. And I'm just curious, like, because I'm assuming that you watch, college water polo and you're like, oh, maybe I'd like that guy to play for my team. Like, how do you go through the process of picking those players, and what are the criteria for when you want a player to play for LA Athletic Club?
That is a great question. And thank you for asking it. I watch a lot of water polo. And I will be very candid about our selection. We're very honest about this. The first criteria of playing for the LA Athletic Club is you have to be a great person.
And I think you would probably attest to that, Oliver, that the team is very like galvanized. We're very close. We do a lot of things together, and everybody gets along. Like nobody fights. In that, like the personalities don't like conflict with one another. So you have to be a great person because we spend a lot of time together. The second thing is you have to be a team player, right? You have to hold yourself to a standard that is above, frankly, where everybody else, because we're going to hold you to that standard. You have to be mature enough to handle, like, look, you have to be self-motivated, and you have to be like one of the best in the country at what you do. There are a lot of people that want to play for the LA Athletic Club that are great people, but you have to be a great person and a great athlete. And for us, those are the two biggest things, but it starts with being a great person. So we're quite selective about that. And it's important to us that we're building a great culture of great young men. Part of our ethos, part of our initiative is actually to, build young men and help, people coming out of college, people who are, junior, senior in high school, and help that maturation process as they become, great husbands, great groomsmen, great fathers, and these types of things. So there's a lot more to it than just playing water polo. And we really, truly believe in building that community for the long term. And that's why you have to be a great person, because I don't really want somebody in my life for the next 10 to 15 years who I don't really like, I don't want to dread that kind of thing. So appreciate the question though. Clayton, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that was pretty solid. I would say, it's not just if we think they're a class act part of our research and if this player or these players are going to complement the team. Like, we ask around, we ask the current guys in the team, like, what do you know about this guy? We ask their current teammates in college. So it's very much in a way, a who you know, because we try to have a program that's built on class. We want to be a program that other teams respect when they're in the water, that the referees like appreciate our level of class, that we're not, trash talking as much from the bench. Just we try to hold ourselves up to just a higher standard in that regard. And we want people to be on board with that. We believe in ambassadorship in everything that we do. You as a person represent not just yourself, you represent your family, your siblings, your high school, your college, your team. And if you're with LA, you're going to be an ambassador to the athletic club. Like, are you ready to bear that responsibility and carry that forward into your careers or your marriage or whatever else it is? So we do try to be pretty holistic. And like Wes said, we want guys to be self-motivated, but we do try to help guys to just get more organized, because, getting through college is one thing, getting into the workforce and post-collegiate life is an entirely different thing. And so we try to help guys be responsible, stay on top of their calendars, show up on time for calls, because it's the little things that can really add up. We like to say how you do anything is how you do everything. So like everything matters over here, and everything is noticed. And we try to really encourage behaviors that we find to be really positive and have honest conversations when behaviors aren't as positive, right? And we try to be transparent with each other, as we hope everyone else is with each other, to build each other up, and that the other person knows that when we do that, it's always out of love for that person and wanting the best out of them, because we know that they're capable of more.
Yeah. We get really jacked up on that question. We don't get asked that a lot, so I appreciate that. It was kind of fun to hear Clayton talk about that. So thank you, Oliver.
And by position, do we need a center? Do we need a defender? Do we? Are we losing this guy because he's going back to Europe? It's also positional and some more logistical reasons as well. But character, we do want to emphasize character.
Yeah, Connor, you're up. Any questions that you have? Anything you'd like to share about your experience this year in National League?
I like to share that it was a great opportunity just to get better. Meet new people, play with new teams. And, I think since the league is so new and they've made so many changes recently, just, allowing college teams to play together, allowing high schoolers to come up and play. And, I think it's super exciting for the league to see where, it will be in, 3, 4, 5 years and how much we'll be able to grow over time. So.
Love it. Yeah, that's awesome. High school thing isn't as new as maybe you think. We've been doing it at LA Athletic Club for 10 years. We've had youth kids.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. So, there's a lot. There's been a lot that have come through. And
it's a staple of our program. We've always included 1,800 players on every single team of National League because we believe in what it does to help accelerate development.
Yeah. Gavin, you're up. Any questions, any commentary about your experience this year in National League?
Yeah, first off, National League's been great. I've loved it so far. A question I would have for you guys is, what do you guys see National League turning into in the future? Like with guys like Filip Filipovic and Varga coming over, that's pretty big for the sport, and it's attracting a lot of attention. So what do you guys think that it's going to turn into?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah, that's a tough. It's a loaded question. My dream, Gavin, is to run a professional league, and those conversations are happening. And we want to see how well this does. Meaning, if we bring over Denis Varga and Filip Filipovic, can we get fans? Can we get people who are not necessarily avid water polo fanatics like us on this call, but like people who have heard of water polo to come out? I'm not necessarily a fanatic of basketball, NBA, but it's fun to go to a game, right? I'll spend the money and go to a game, and it's a good event. That's kind of where we're going. And I think that there's an opportunity here, a unique opportunity to build our sport and move it into a space where you can make a living doing it. I think we're foolish to think you can't. And so I personally would like to see a professional league, and those are conversations that are ongoing and I'm having with different people. And so we'll see where it ends up. But you never know. So that is the hope in doing this. And the reason that I signed Filip Filipovic and Denis Varga was because I wanted to see what this would do. Could we get 5,000, 3,000 people out to Mount Sac to watch semifinals and finals?
Yeah. If anything, just to get exposure to the sport, right? And that's a big part of it. It's just the marketing act of it to continue to build awareness and enthusiasm and excitement for people in the community, but also outside of the community. Because if we just sell internally to ourselves, we're not really growing the sport. We need to generate excitement outside of ourselves in order for it to grow. So this is certainly a different format than we've seen in National League in past years, and we'll see where it goes. But I think a common question that people are asking, especially those who are playing in professional league in other countries around the world, is why not the US? Why does you have it all, and you have multiple sports with professional leagues? Why not water polo? And we could think of all the reasons and excuses why, but frankly, none of them are insurmountable. And so, is there the right spearhead to do it?
Yeah, so we'll see. Good.
We'll see.
Jack, you're up. The final one here.
I kind of just wanted to further Gavin's question. What are your next steps or processes to making this overall just a bigger sport and everything? Just because I'd love to see it grow as well. What are your kind of ideas or steps?
Clay, we got to have these guys on more often. These are better questions that we get from anybody.
We have to have a spin-off podcast to build it. They will come. Yeah.
So steps. The first is building awareness. We have to build awareness around the sport, which is, again, the reason that I went out and I called up Varga and I called up Filip and I said, we've got to do this. And Varga is very much on board with that. He aligns with my vision as well. And so that is a big piece of it. And so we have to build awareness. That is step one. Step two is funding. We need to be able to pay players enough that they can dedicate themselves and train, because you're not going to get sponsorships for masters level water polo. We know this to be true. We've run the only successful profitable masters league in the country ever, which was called the SOPAC Super League. It was a very profitable league, but people are like, yeah, it's a masters league. We want high level elite performance, which all of you on this call are elite competitors. I could see you being like, yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to play down. You don't want to play 14 and unders. You want to play 20 and under. You want to play 30 and under, right? And for me, growing up in Eastern Europe, I played with 30-year-olds and 35-year-olds and Olympians when I was 16. And for me, that there was an immense benefit for me coming back to the United States and playing in the United States. And we need something like that where people can continue to play through their 30s, because the average age of a gold medalist in the Olympics is 29.2 years old. But most of our athletes stop playing at 22. In fact, 99.8% of all high school athletes will be done playing water polo by the time they're 22. So the objective there is awareness, and then the ability to make a living so that they can stay in shape and play at a very elite level. Those are the necessary steps from an infrastructure standpoint to be able to then draw revenue, get fans to games, which comes with awareness, build sponsorships, which comes with awareness and elite level play, and create an environment that people want to play in. And the number of people I have been contacted by after these signings that are pros in Europe going, how can we come play in the United States? Are you able to pay us? Has been unbelievable. And I'm not talking like random people. I'm talking Olympians from other countries who want to come over and play. Because
that's awesome to hear.
Wouldn't you rather play in California or like Las Vegas than like it's somewhere random, like if you're a European? So that's the idea behind all this. Wow. I'm like losing my mind, Clay. Guys, thank you so much for being here. This has been absolutely amazing. You are all welcome back anytime. If you need anything, please just let us know. You're now very, very good friends, and great to know that 4 of our 12 total viewers are on here with us at the same time, Clay. So thank you all for being here, and we just appreciate it very much. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Thank you.
All right, don't log out in the...
Amazing. Great to have those guys on. Thank you all again so much for making the time to be on the podcast. And how about them turning it back on us for a couple questions?
That was awkward for me. Nobody asked me questions. It's
Yeah.
weird.
No one's curious about Wes.
Yeah.
Wes is a very curious boy. Something that really stood out from that conversation was definitely the lack of exposure, like we're talking about earlier, of to higher levels of play. And like, did these kids even know about National League? You know,
Right.
At what point did they become aware of National League and that it's something that they would perhaps want to participate in or even spectate? Right. It's pretty late, if at all, for these kids.
Yeah. I mean, you know about baseball, basketball, football when you're like 2. We need people to know about water polo when they're 1 year and 11 months.
That's
The sooner the better.
That's it.
It's a
We'll
tough
automate
sport to
that.
play when you're young, but yeah, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So heading into women's side of things, we wrapped up conference play, and we have some results that are in that will then dictate seeding for NC2As. You want to run us through that?
Yeah. So congrats to the teams who did qualify. Share my screen here real quick with you. Stanford taking the 1 seed, Hawaii the 4, playing against California, UCLA the 2, Harvard USC the 3. Surprise. First off, congrats to Harvard. First time they've won that conference, defeating Princeton. Princeton has had a tough year. Some team dynamic issues, if you will. And Harvard capitalized, and they came up big when they needed to most, knocking out Princeton, who was the favorite starting the year. They'll take on Southern California. More surprising is that Harvard got ranked above LMU. So, you know, congrats. LMU winning the Gold Coast Conference. Good for them. Having to take on UCLA, Cal taking on Hawaii, and then Stanford would take on the winner of Wagner and McKendree. Stanford is clear-cut the number 1 seed. I know that they dropped a game to USC earlier this year. If you go back, remember we talked about this? When they played USC at Triton Invitational, Tilly Kearns had drawn a bunch of exclusions, but not a lot of goals. Then in the second time they played USC, Tilly Kearns had a ton of goals out of center, and Stanford lost to USC. Well, this time around, they went back to kind of the tried and true, took the exclusions, played down 5-on-6 more often, and just relied on their team defense, you know, sitting on their blocks, allowing their goalie, who's outstanding, to get a lot of blocks. And they defeated USC. They won the MPSF. Weirdly, there was a 3-way tie. So they beat UCLA. UCLA beat USC, and USC beat Stanford. So there's this 3-way tie. They were ranked, I think, second or third going in. So they had to play UCLA in their semifinal. They managed and did a nice job to run the table there. So congrats to Stanford. Ryan Neuschel, player of the tournament. I think she's on her way. Quite candidly, Ryan Neuschel is on her way to a 4th NC2A title, 4 for 4, as well as a Catino Award. I think she is to women's water polo what Ryder is to the men's side of it. And I got to tell you, it has been so fun to watch her play. I mean, she is so dynamic and so smart. She just does all the simple things really well, and then she does the tough stuff exceptionally well. It's truly amazing to watch her play. If there's anyone you want to model your game after, it's Ryan Neuschel. And frankly, from a personal standpoint, like Ryder, amazing person. Great getting to know her this year. I've been fortunate enough to call a lot of those Stanford women's games, which was a great experience, and just witnessing her greatness. Jenna Flynn also played quite well. Impressed with both of those players. However, the story this year has been about Wagner and not Wagner, excuse me. The story this year has been about McKendree. Now, McKendree will play Wagner in a play-in game. The winner gets the prize of playing Stanford in their quarterfinal.
Congratulations.
But McKendree had quite the journey this year, Clay. And I remember reading about this right before the women's season started. And they lost their coach, Coach Colleen, in a tragic car accident 1 week before season started for them. We had the chance and the honor and the privilege to catch up with Alex Figuera, their coach, and Sydney Kane, their senior team captain and goalie. And we're going to show this interview. It's heartbreaking. It's inspiring. It's a great story of tragedy and trial and tribulation, and a team coming together who was ranked 4th in the WWPA to start the season. They won the Eastern Conference and ranked 2nd overall in the WWPA going into the WWPA championship tournament, and then winning the WWPA and earning a bid to the NC2A finals. Congrats to them. And we're going to go straight to that interview now with Coach Alex Figuera and Captain Sydney Kane. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are joined by Alex Figueras and Sydney Kane, the captain of McKendree University. And today is really a very special day. This is an incredibly special opportunity for us here at Water Polo Wednesday. A story of tragedy and loss turned into, a galvanizing force for a team ranked 4th in WWPA coming into the season, finishing 2nd in the WWPA, winning the East, going 21-7 after losing their head coach a week before season started. Alex, you stepped in, and first off, congratulations on the season, though I'm sure there's been a lot of mixed emotions this year. You stepped in as the head coach, as a graduate assistant, when the prior coach passed away. Talk to us about what that was like. As I can imagine, leading a team after something like that. What was the first thing you did? What were your steps of healing and helping the team come together? And talk to us about that if you can.
Yeah, I mean, I think reflecting back, it was kind of just day by day. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think everything kind of happened on a Wednesday, and we had the Thursday and Friday that week, and then the following weekend we'd be going to Indiana for our opening weekend. So we kind of took the rest of that week off, and just it was a lot of just kind of spending time together as a group, and we had some parents come in and did a lot of great stuff with getting meals and just kind of getting trying to get us back on our feet a little bit. And, I think for those first, days and weeks, I think it was really just going day by day, and everyone kind of taking their own approach. That people needed to take time off or, take it slow. I think that was, something that everyone kind of understood. And, but at the end of the day, our goal had pretty much always been to win the conference. And I think we, none of us were going to change in that goal regardless of the circumstances. So I think we all kind of understood, as much as it was difficult and none of us really maybe wanted to be there those first days back, but, at a certain point, we had to get back to it. And I think that, in the long run, definitely was the, a huge healing step for us, just being together at the pool back where, where we belonged. And it was weird and it was tough, but we kind of just, like I said, took it day by day and went from there.
Yeah, teams can be so healing. That community, that the camaraderie between your team, those people you struggle with, can be so healing. Sydney, you're the captain of the team, the goalie, the senior on the team, the leader. How, as a 22-year-old, did you approach this? I mean, look, and that's not to say you're young, but I'm 40 and 22 seems like a long time ago. What were those feelings like for you as the team captain and leader that did you have? And what were some of the steps you took to help kind of keep the team going forward?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be difficult personally and as a leader of a team, but I took those 2 days to spend time with my roommates and by myself, and with my mother came down and visited, and I just took those 2 days to grieve, but also to understand my role on the team and to understand that I was put in this position for a reason. And you can never predict something like this can happen, but Colleen trusted me to lead the team through anything, and I think that I knew that I would have to do that. So I took those 2 days, 4 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and grieved and talked it out with my roommates, talked it out with my family, and talked it out with a couple of other teammates as well about how we all knew that we wanted to push forward, and we all knew what our goals were and what Colleen would want essentially, and that's to push forward. So I knew that I would have to somewhat put some of my feelings to the side and be there for my team more than anything, because I know that without true leadership and support, I don't think that we would have been able to make it out of it. And that's not just myself. I have a co-captain. I have Alex here, and Breno is our grad assistant. And I think that there's also other leaders on the team that just don't have the title of captain that allowed us to work together and to push through. So I think I knew that it was going to be hard, but I also knew that we had such big dreams and big goals for this year that it just had to be done. And everybody wanted it so bad that it was almost easy.
That's fairly interesting, that because of the loss, it became easier for everybody to buy in, that kind of, setting aside those personal endeavors. There's a phrase that I like to say at work that, dream work makes the team work. And when you all share that common dream, it's amazing what we'll do as a team to achieve that. Were there moments, Alex or Sydney, that you guys felt like you were tough, that like if you felt like you couldn't go on, you felt like, hey, it's just too much? Or, I mean, we all have moments in our daily lives where we break down, where we can be moody, or we can have emotional swings, or as athletes, it's sometimes unpredictable. You don't eat the right food one night and the next day can be tough. This far more difficult than that. But like, were there days where you just felt flat, you just felt deflated? And if so, how did you recover from that? What was it that kind of kept you going forward and inspiring you to continue to lead from the front?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the obvious answer is like our first practice back. I think none of us really wanted to be at the pool that day. And, cause I mean, none of us had ever really been there without our coach, and so I think that was just, kind of weird. And like, for me, like just trying to do the things that she would do, just, just from like a standpoint of running practice or, and I felt, she definitely we had a really good working relationship in terms of just like, delegating work. And it wasn't, it was something where she was kind of helping me with a lot of responsibilities beforehand. So, I felt confident in that regard, just like, okay, I can handle the work itself. It's just, taking on that extra workload. And then, the other aspect of, okay, now I'm trying to juggle all this other stuff. So I think that regard was just, that was definitely a difficult day. And looking back, I don't really remember too much of the specifics of it. Just kind of a blur, but, I think like I said, it was, every day kind of helped to, keep going there. But yeah, I mean, I think honestly, the thing after that was like, it was just, we had 6 weekends in a row on the road after that, and then 3 more in a row at home after that. So it was just like 9 weeks in a row of games where we just didn't really have time to think. At least I didn't, it was like, just go. And, obviously we did pretty well in that span, but it was like, I think in a certain respect, just having such a busy schedule kind of kept our mind off it. And it was like, all right, we got games this weekend, we got to prep for, we got to worry about, travel and all this other stuff. So I think just having that schedule just kind of kept us going in that regard.
Yeah. Sydney, what about you? Were there days in practice where you just didn't have it? You just felt flat. You felt deflated, and maybe not, maybe it sounds like you guys were so busy you didn't have time to think about it, but were there challenging moments throughout the season for you?
Those first couple days before we got back to the pool, I'm not gonna lie, I definitely questioned whether this was something I could do mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I came to McKendree for Colleen. I met Colleen and I was like, wow, this is one hell of a woman, pardon my French, but this is a really cool person, and this is she really knows how to hold a room. You walk in a room and you're like, wow, that's a cool person. You know what I mean? So those first days I definitely was like, man, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get through this? This feels like something I couldn't possibly get through. You know what I mean? But I obviously talked to my teammates, talked to my mom, and knew that it was something that she wanted from us. So that's really what got me through that first battle. But like Alex said, that first practice was rough too. I felt like Alex's dad gracefully and nicely, whatever, came and helped us coach. But every time I looked up, because he was coaching the goalies, every time I looked up, it was like, oh, this should be Colleen talking to me right now. So those first practices were really rough. That first game is really rough. Every time I would look over to the bench, I would always expect Colleen to be looking at me and be doing one of these with her fists and clapping me along with her little claps, but it wasn't there. And so that was always really rough. But just keeping the goals that we had set, those, what do we call them? Disrespectful goals, the massive goals that we had set for ourselves I was keeping those in mind. And I think just keeping my best interest and my teammates' best interest in mind is what truly let me get through that. I know that if I wouldn't have played this season, I would have regretted it forever. So that's
what a season you had. You go from preseason ranked 4th in your conference to winning the East Division, ranked 2nd in going into the WWPA finals, winning the WWPA, and now you play Wagner in a play-in. 21-7. I mean, that's better than most teams. Don't care what conference you're in. That's a tremendous record for you guys. Talk to us about what's next for you. What are you looking forward to? And maybe how you're channeling Colleen in the everyday. Is there a tradition you guys have set or something you do kind of in memory of her as you approach each game?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've tried to keep, at least from the coaching perspective, we've tried to keep the kind of routine and the way that we do things kind of the same, just because number one, I think it's, it's comfortable just kind of keeping things the same. Number two, it was just, it worked well before, so why not keep going there? But I think, a lot of the just kind of, stuff from here is we kind of, we're I think in a spot where we want to keep building from here. I mean, this is still a relatively new team. I think this was year 9. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not, not a super established program. And this is our first, real major conference title as a program or anything. So I think, certainly we're super excited about what we accomplished and everything, but, I think just keeping going from here. But yeah, I mean, I think, her legacy and everything will still definitely be on, living on with this program, whether through the players or, coaches or just kind of that. I think everyone will always respect that. I mean, this season we had she had this super old SNR Sport clipboard that was beat up. I don't even know, the ends were snapped off, all this stuff. So we brought that along with us and had it on the bench, during all our games and stuff. But yeah, just, kind of little stuff that we've been trying to just do. And I think everyone on the team obviously, is aware, but I think those on the outside maybe aren't quite as aware of, just the little nuances and stuff.
Sure. Talk to us about the approach now. You've got Wagner in a week, right? In a week or so?
Yeah, a week from tomorrow.
Right. It's your play-in game. How do you approach this game? It's their number 18, I think, in the country. Talk to us about mentally. How do you get ready for that?
I'll let you go I mean, I can give some stuff, but I'm sure you have a player input as well. But I think like the thing that helped us a ton at conference was we game prepped a lot, obviously, as you know, as expected, and you might have some opinions on how we did that when it was a little bit late at night doing film. I'll let you get into that later, but you know, we obviously, you know, it ended up working out for us. But I think, you know, the biggest thing that gave me a lot of confidence going into the semis and the finals were just, you know, walking down to the hotel lobby in the morning and everyone was just like totally chill, you know, not in like a I don't care kind of way, but just like, hey, we're mentally prepared. Like we're ready for this. We're going to go out and play and we feel confident. And I think that was like exactly what I wanted to see. And obviously I'm sure some people were kind of faking it till they made it. But you know, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But I think, you know, the next week we'll be obviously watching a lot of film and, you know, I know they've got a really good coaching staff and a lot of really good players on that team. So, you know, I know they'll be probably doing the same for us. So it'll be really interesting, but I think as much, you know, game prep and stuff as we can do to keep going in the next week of practice here. And then, you know, just kind of keep the same mentality of like, hey, we've got nothing to lose at this point. Like we've already proven a lot of people wrong, I think. So why not just keep it going?
Why not? Somebody's got to win.
Yeah.
Why not you? You know? Sydney, what about you? How do you prep? You're a goalie. It's probably a little different than a field player. What's the thought process for you going into this? Your final kind of tournament.
Sure is.
She's never rattled, Alex. You got a good goalie here. I can't rattle her at all.
How do I go in? You know, I just take it one practice at a time. I try and stay. It's a long season that we have, but I try and stay very disciplined throughout the whole season. And I try and motivate the team, stay very disciplined, take care of our bodies, eat well, drink water, take medicine when we need it, take breaks when we need it, take a day off practice if we need it. You know what I mean? So I think that's really my biggest thing as a player is just making sure that the team is doing everything in their power to make sure that we are mentally and physically capable to continue on this next one more week and a half. So that's really my big thing.
Yeah. Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
I guess that works great. Anybody you guys are looking to lead the team in the pool, aside from Sydney, talk to us about kind of your approach, your players that you've been really proud of this year, Alex, who've really stepped up for you. I know you've got a couple with 60 plus goals. It looks like another one with 40. I mean, you've got some pretty high scoring individuals here. You know, what have you guys done to enable such high scoring and how have you gone about, like, you know, talk to us about those leaders outside of Sydney? Cause I'm sure, you know, we say it takes more than one. It takes everyone and would love to hear about how that's happened and worked out for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, our goal coming into the season, we wanted to really work on, you know, our team defense, and we knew having a really good goalie who happened to win, you know, conference player of the year and tournament MVP and all this stuff, that definitely helped out there. But, you know, we've had, it's a really cool group in that, you know, we're kind of, I think we kind of have that underdog spirit at times where, you know, we're just because where we're located, we're a D2 school, you know, we're not necessarily getting these crazy high level recruits out of, you know, Mater Dei or the, you know, super big CIF schools or whatever. So we've got a lot of people coming in who, you know, maybe they're from a high level program or high level club or whatever, but they weren't necessarily a stud on that team, but they, you know, they know how to work, they know how to train at a high level. Or you got people from, you know, Illinois, Michigan, wherever. I mean, we got someone from Idaho on the team, from Massachusetts, like states where water polo is not predominant whatsoever. But, you know, they were a top player on a team where, you know, people maybe don't even realize polo exists. But I think that kind of all meshes together into a really solid work ethic. But yeah, we've had, you know, we had our center, Bella. She was a transfer from Iona, originally from Chicago, so kind of nearby. And she had a really, really solid freshman year with them. And she came in and just was a stud right away. She was, you know, she's super strong physically and, you know, as a player, but she's just working in there. I mean, I think there was a point early in the season where she was drawing like 5 kickouts a game and just keeps going, you know, like it was just, I was just like, all right, just keep feeding her the ball and she'll do something with it. And then our lefty Joey, she had a really good year last year. And then followed that up with a really similar year this year where I think she's second in the conference in points or something, but she's a really solid shooter. We got a couple others that Jasmine Guzman is one of our attackers from Chicago. She's a grad student, and she's just always grinding, just kind of one of those really scrappy, players that we probably all hate to play against, but you love when she's on your team. And just a lot of people. Haley Munoz is one of our utility players, just does everything. Allie Diller's our starting guard, and she literally had never played guard in her life until midway through last season when we decided that we're putting her at guard. And she basically has started every game since, and just, same thing, just took it and ran with it. So I think that's kind of the spirit. And there's a ton of people that I can also shout out. Dylan Murphy's another one that just, have been huge contributors to us, but it's been definitely a team effort this year.
That's amazing. And Sydney, you have a 60% save percentage in total, 67% in conference. Those are crazy numbers for a goalie. Like normal, like great goalies are like 55, 50%. Good goalies are like 40. And then average goal is like 35. That's phenomenal. So good on you guys for the success you've had. Obviously, the numbers tell kind of what's happened, not necessarily why, but I'm sure it's a lot of hard work, as it sounds like, dedication, preparation, taking care of your body. Sydney, in our sport is just so important to make sure we're recovered, and able to kind of move forward. So congrats to you guys. We like to open it up. Like we're really excited. I think we're all McKendree fans right now. So we love the opportunity to talk to you. We like to open this up. This is your space. We say the studio is yours. Any commentary you'd like, anything, any shout outs you'd like to give, or any messages you'd like to send. We open it up to you.
You want to go first?
Go ahead, Coach.
I think you alluded to this earlier, but I think one person that definitely deserves a ton of credit is Breno Tibet. He's our GA for the season. He was a player last year, went to Golden West originally, played 2 years at McKendree, and has been a huge asset to us in terms of just skills coaching and tactics and everything. He's definitely been, I think at times we have different coaching styles, I think, but I think we complement each other. And I don't know if you want to touch on that, but I think it's good in that regard when, someone, we can kind of balance each other out that way. But yeah. And then, Sydney, like she said, my dad's been helping us out on a volunteer basis, and that's been super helpful, just having another voice at practice who's, super knowledgeable and experienced and everything. And I think his connection with Colleen, just coaching with her for a while is something that's really cool too. So yeah, but I mean, we've had, great support from parents, and the last couple of days there's been a lot of coaches and people just contacting us saying congrats, and that's been super cool to hear. So hopefully we can keep it going.
It's a small community, Alex, and we feel very lucky to have you here. And I think we all heard about it, so it's your success is undeniable, and that's amazing. Sydney, your turn.
I mean, our it doesn't get much smarter and a higher water polo IQ than our coaching staff. I think between Alex Breno and then Miguel helping us out, new head coach of the men's team, by the way. But it doesn't get much smarter than that. They happen to see every little thing in the pool 24/7. Like, and it sometimes it's annoying and sometimes it's nitpicky, but other times it's really great. Specifically from Breno, he's like Alex talked about, they have pretty different coaching, whatever you want to call it.
Styles.
Yeah, coaching styles. Alex is much more laid back and positive and I don't know, nice. And Breno is tough. Breno's tough. But he also is one of the smartest people I've ever met. So when it comes to water polo, so you can still appreciate and respect what he has to say. But I also think you said, similar to the water polo community, the small community we have here at McKendree is very supportive. I think that we have 2 out of 3 of our athletic directors came to the watch party yesterday to listen to who we're gonna play first going into nationals. And I think that in the big schools, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get I got a personal text from all 3 of them, in the big school, you're not going to get that. Anthony Francis, Tracy Cromer, Trevor, they're all texting us, congratulating us, and that's huge. And then I go to class today and I have countless countless students, countless professors, faculty members, bus drivers that are all congrats, heard all the great things you did, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff like that. It's really amazing. Like you don't get that in big schools. It's a very tight knit community around here that I think is really great.
Well, we love to hear it. And we want to thank you again for being on the show. If there's ever anything we can do for you, please just let us know. Good luck in a week against Wagner. We'll be watching. We'll be cheering you on. I don't like to pick favorites, but right now McKendree is it. So thank you guys for being here. I hope to talk to both of you guys soon and see you in Indiana for the NC2A finals.
Yeah, we'd love to be there, but thanks again for having us on. This was super cool.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Very inspiring interview there. Talk about start with why, right?
Yeah.
The power of having a really strong why when you go into anything can really drive some incredible results. This is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I harken back to the quote I use, dream work makes the team work. And when you align on a common set of core values or beliefs, that initiative, that here's why we're going to do it. As you said, start with why. It's amazing what can be accomplished when we set aside our own personal desires to achieve something greater than ourselves with a team of people. I was tearing up. I was tearing up during that interview. I was tearing up after it. Just, turning tragedy into triumph. Congratulations, McKendree. I think we're all McKendree fans this year.
Yep.
And good for them.
For sure. So what do we have looking forward to next week, Wes, or for the next couple weeks to come?
Yeah, we'll break down some more of the NC2A women's side of things. Hopefully get a few guests on to talk about their journey this season and the outlook for the NC2A women's. We'll talk about senior nationals, and there might be even a drop as we may have a coach join us to talk about their fall recruiting class on the men's side. So be sure to tune in to All Things Water Polo Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, everyone, life is short.
Score goals.